So let's go to see how to set up our X Pro S transmitter. First of all, you have to switch it on, and this is this first side button here. Just pull it up, it will switch on. The second one is used if you want to activate the flash autofocus help for the camera. I'm not using, mostly I'm using manual focusing glasses, so it's not the thing that I use. You can try it if you like. Okay, so let's see now again. Here we have a very similar set of icons on our display. As you can see on top there is the channel 3. As you remember, we set our Godox AD200 Pro to channel 3 before. Now the next one is the high-speed sync symbol. We want to have this activated, as I explained earlier. Then you have the battery indicator here. Below there is the letter of the group which you are right now controlling. Then this shows in which mode this group of flashes is, or this flash is. It's an MS manual. Then below you have the power of the output which you can control. Okay. Just below that there is indication of the zoom angle of your flash, which basically relates to the field of view of the lens. So it's like a narrowing or spreading the light beam. The wider the range, like 24 or even lower for some flashes, will means the light is spread wide, and in contrary, when you put 200 millimeters, like a very narrow angle of view or field of view, you will get a narrow actually light beam, which will have a longer reach, but of course it's the circle of light is smaller, so it will not cover, for example, the whole body, etc. So that depends on many things. There is no rule, but it's good just to know what is there. And then yeah, this controller has these 5 little side buttons. They're great actually addition. That's why I like this controller better than some others from Godox, because you can just press the one of the buttons. There are 5 of them, and each of them will move you to control another group of the flashes. So the first one is A, the second is B, C, D, and E. And when you want to control, for example, that background flash, which I said might be the group C, just press the C, and then you can control its power by rotating the control wheel here. Alright. So also let's go back to our group A, where our Godox AD200 Pro is. And as you can see, I can now change the power of the flash here easily. So that's how I actually work with the flash, and if I see there is too much light, I take it off, or I do something with the flash, add probably the modifier, or turn it to reflect the light and stuff like that. Or of course I can use the power to adjust and to get less or more light. Now about these values, the when means the full power. This is the maximum power of your flash that you can fire on. The thing is that basically this flash can be adjusted within the exposure values, similarly like your camera exposure works. In other words, there is, let's say that this is the full, this is like 10 exposure values, let's say the full power. Now if we want to underexpose because it's too much light, setting it to 1/2 will mean we are underexposing for 1 exposure value, and 1/4 it will be 2 exposure values, 1/8 will be 3 exposure values, etc, etc. The same way your shutter speed works, like if you are at 125th of the seconds and you want to let twice as much light, you will set your shutter to 60 of the seconds, which is the half of 125 approximately. And that way you are actually moving your exposure by 1 exposure value up or down. In other words, so if I want the half of power of my flash, because there was too much, I will set it to 1.2. All those values in between are actually in the third of the stops for more precise control. Alright, so if I want a quarter of the power, I will go to 1/4, and this means 2 exposure values below. Alright, so now let's talk about the controls here. As you can see, the first line of controls are the context controls. They actually are related to what is written above them on the screen, on the display. On the first one you have the zoom control and the channel control just next to it, and it works like when you press shortly this button, it will switch the zoom on, so you can now control the zoom of your remote flash by rotating and confirming with set. And if you want to change the channel, just keep it pressed for a little longer, the channel will light up, and now you can actually change the channel and confirm it again with a set. So that's the first button in this mode. The second is sync. This is related to high speed sync. When you switch it off or on, you will see that symbol appears or disappear correspondingly. And then you have the group button, which you basically don't have to use, because it will switch between the groups now, or actually it will light up the group and you can use the controller, the wheel controller, to switch between. But since you have your buttons here, there is no much need for this button to be used. You don't have to access your groups through the menu, you can access them directly. The last one is related to the model light, which I showed you earlier. It works only with the speed light head, and there is this little bulb. If you remember, it's the same symbol that appears on your AD200 Pro when you switch it on or off. Now below that there is a menu button. Again, there are a lot of settings that you can use, like when it's go to standby, will it beep, the steps are 1/3 or 1/10 or 1/2, or the full exposure values, etc, etc. I will not cover this here, it will take too long, and it's just something that you can find in the instruction manual. Now the TCM button is actually changing the display from the single group control display to multi-group control display. If you have more flashes and you want to have the overview of the power of each of them in your groups, then you can switch to this display. And if you want to control the power of a particular flash in the group, you again press just the corresponding letter here, and now by turning your control wheel you can adjust the power of that particular flash. If you're working only with 1 or 2 flashes, maybe it's easier to keep it like that, you have a better overview. You can see the information better, right? Now this is this little flash there below the mode button is the test button. When you press it, it will fire the remote flash to tell you that everything is synchronized properly. And that's basically everything that is important to know about this transmitter. Now let's see how to use the Godox TT685S, the Sony version flash, how to set it actually to become a part of our multi-flash setup, because my friend has this flash from before, and it's usable as the second flash for the background or the fill light. It's a shame not to show you how to set it up now for the setup that we did before with the transmitter and the AD200 Pro as another slave flash that we can use. Okay, let's switch it on. Yeah, and here are just a few things that I'll mention, because it's a little bit more complicated. As you see, there is many more buttons, and then there is more modes that you can use with this flash. What is important to keep in mind? This little button here is the one that you should really remember, because that button will toggle you between the different radio and slave and master modes of this flash. There are 5 of them. Let's go through them. The main mode is actually the mode in which you can be like a TTL, for example, when you put the flash on the camera and you don't want to control other flashes, this is your general mode for shooting with the flash on the camera. Then the second mode is actually the optical master flash. You leave your flash on the camera, but you want to fire the other flashes which you have around, and they are not radio synchronized, so you can use this mode actually and put your flash in the master mode and then trigger other flashes remotely with this in this mode. Then you can do the same with the other flash that will fire up, but put this flash in the radio off or optical slave mode, so the other flash will now trigger this flash wherever it stands in the room and if it sees the main flash. And then you come to the radio flash, and again you will see now the little symbol on the left corner above the symbol of that radio transmission. And this is important because now the flash is actually activated its transmitter and receiver for the radio signal. However, whenever the screen is green with the Godox 685S, it means it's in a master mode. And as you can see here, the first in line is M, which means master. It's in a manual mode and 1/64 of the power. And then you see the groups A, B and C. This flash can control your other flashes. It can actually serve as the X Pro S to some extent, but it has a much more cumbersome user interface and less options and only 3 groups instead of 5, etc, etc. So just to be aware of it. And the last one actually is the one we are looking for. It has the red display screen when you light it up, and it will show you the little symbol here saying that that your flash has activated the radio transmission. And it will also write here the important information, and this is that now it's in slave mode. The channel is already set to channel 3 and the group is A. Now if we want to change the channel or the group, we will find the context buttons again. This one is for the group and this one is for the channel. If we press the group, it will cycle between A, B and C. That's, as I said, it has only 3 groups. Let's put it in B group, for example, because the AD200 Pro is now A group, so we can control each of them independently. And if we want to change the channel, we just press the channel button. Now we turn the control wheel again to find the proper channel. We were on 3 and confirm it with set. Now as you can see, now everything is basically here set. It's the manual zoom. The last thing that I will suggest to change is to put it in the auto zoom by pressing this here button. Just press it shortly and then turn the wheel until this 3 slashes appears here and the letter A here. Confirm it and leave it like that, because you will be able from your transmitter actually to change that setting later. So that's how I actually do it. Now again, remember what is important is this button here to bring you to this exact mode. And when you're in it, the red display and radio signal and written slave, you can see the letter of your group and channel. The last thing you want to change is actually to change the mode in which this flash operates. Now it's in TTL, and we said we want to be in manual, so I will press the mode button here and it changes the TTL to M, as you can see, and multi TTL and M. That's my setting. Okay, now when you've done this, now you're able to control with your transmitter on camera the X Pro S. You can control both flashes and you can set their power independently. And that was what my friend asked me to advise her how to do. I hope it was helpful, and if there will be any other questions or if you find some problems which I didn't cover up here, write a note below and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. Sorry for my English, I'm also very tired tonight, but I hope this might be for someone useful, especially when they start for the first time with the AD200 Pro system.